And today we are finally going to look at how to make templates in Docusign. Yay! So exciting. I am so excited. Beth just got here, so she doesn't know how long we have actually waited for this. All right. So first thing that we're going to do is go to realestate.docusign.com. Remember, that is realestate.docusign.com. If you go to Docusign.com, I'll just show you for the people that access it this way. You're going to actually come here, which is a little bit different. This is the Docusign e-signature platform, which we can get to our Docusign rooms by logging into the regular old Docusign and let it have its moment to be slow. And then you would come up and click your pretty picture in the upper right corner and switch to rooms. However, you can avoid that extra step by just going to realestate.docusign.com.
Create form template blue button in the upper right corner.
My website, somebody's playing a video. Let's not do that right now. All right. So we can just go to realestate.docusign.com and we will be here in our Docusign rooms dashboard. Everybody good with this? This is the best way to get here. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is click on My Docs up here at the top. And yes, I did make some printable instructions, and I'm going to put them up on the website, but I will also drop that down in the chat, a link to get to this. Bear with me. It takes you through all the steps with pictures. Everybody likes some pictures to get us going where we need to be. Let's see. Let me copy that link and I will pop that right into your chat window. Let me go to everyone in the group. So if you want some printable material, there you go. It's in the chat. Okay. Good deal. So we are going to go to My Docs, and then we are going to go to Form Templates right below it. I've already made a couple for practice, but we're going to look over how to do this. Okay, so realestate.docusign.com, My Docs, Form Templates. And we're going to come up to the blue button in the upper right corner and create a form template. Okay. So this window should look pretty familiar to you. This is usually how we're adding forms to our rooms, right? You get this little pop-up box. We can leave the Docusign Forms library at the top if we want, and we can select NCAR, which would take us to all of the forms, right? A whole lot of those here. So if you do a lot of vacant land, or maybe you do quite a few commercial transactions, all of those forms are still here. They're just under the Docusign Forms library and then the NCAR, North Carolina Association of Realtors subset window. But today we're going to look at just the forms we use the most often. Okay, so we're going to pick Docusign Forms Group from the top, and from the bottom, whichever thing that we're working on. So I think I might have a Greensboro agent or two in here. Greensboro, you are going to see listing packet residential and buyer packet residential. And Winston-Salem, you are going to see KWRE buyer forms and KWRE Keller Williams Realty Elite listing forms. So again, Greensboro, buyer packet residential, listing packet residential, Keller Williams Realty Elite, and Winston-Salem is going to see KWRE buyer forms and KWRE seller forms. And I think there may even be a vacant land grouping in there as well. And so this just pairs our forms down for us. So I'm going to give you guys a vote. Do we want to see buyer forms first or listing forms? Shout it out.
How about listing?
Listing. All right. We're going with listing. So if I pull up the listing form, these are the forms that I happen to do this for you guys, put into a subset folder. This is the most frequently used set of forms for a listing. That doesn't mean it's the only set of forms. Doesn't mean that there aren't other forms that you might use, but these are the most commonly used forms when listing a residential property, okay, that are in this folder. So we can only set up one at a time. So I'm going to show you guys a quick tip. If you go ahead and set up your exclusive right to sell listing agreement, that's the one we're going to set up first, the exclusive right to sell listing agreement. I'm going to click use. You can set up multiple. So if you handle a lot of new construction, that exclusive right to sell listing agreement that you use frequently may look a little bit different. Maybe you always set up 5% commission instead of 6% commission, or you know, whatever. You can set up as many of these templates as you want. So you'll see I already set up an exclusive right to sell listing agreement. That's okay. I'm just going to set up a second one, right? So if you do things a little bit differently for each form, that is okay. Now, what we're going to do is just start filling in what does not change. For me, my license is hung at Keller Williams Realty Elite. That doesn't change. That's where I work. That's where my license is. Okay. Scroll down. I don't know the effective date, the property date. Don't know when this sucker is going to expire, unless I was Stephen Long, because he only has 2 expiration dates for the whole year. So he may be able to put the expiration date into his listing if he so chose. Don't know any of this property specific information. So I just keep scrolling. Keep scrolling. Okay. Now, once we get down here, I do know for me personally that I always ask for 6% of the listing sales price. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in so that I don't have to type 6 every time. If you agreed with these people that 5% was fair for whatever reason, you can make that change when you actually add this document into the room. This is just a template where you're trying to save yourself from typing things in later. Okay. I'm a 60-dayer here. We are independent contractors. This number is up to you. There are people that do 30, 45, 60, and 90, or whatever. That's up to y'all, whatever number it is that you put there. Okay. I usually cooperate with buyer agents representing the buyer, and I offer them half of that 6%. If you choose to check these other boxes, again, you are an independent contractor. That is up to you. Okay. I'm going to keep sliding through. I don't know when my commencement of marketing is going to be yet. I do know that more than likely my people are going to let me do signs and open houses and internet advertising. I don't care for coming soon personally, so I'm not going to check that, but I am going to check internet advertising, which I do care for. Okay. So more than likely my folks are going to agree with that. That way I won't have to check these boxes. More than likely my folks are going to let me put a lockbox on their property. So I'm going to go ahead and check that. I do not know if this would be an office exclusive listing or not at the time, but I do know that I'm always going to give my sellers an acknowledgement of, or give them a copy of an offer to purchase so they know what they have to look forward to, and check that they acknowledge that. I'm going to check that they acknowledge the copy of the professional services disclosure and election form number 760, right? They are free forms. We may as well give them copies because that is the right thing to do. Don't know if there's going to be a deed on the property or a mortgage, rather. I don't normally work with people that are in bankruptcy. Doesn't mean it wouldn't happen, but more than likely I'm going to be checking these 2 boxes. I don't know about private road. Don't know about FHA. So I'm going to keep on keeping on all the way down the form. Normally, there's not a reason my seller wouldn't be able to sell, so I'm going to go ahead and pop in A in that box. Okay, home inspection, don't know. I do know I'm going to give them a sample of questions and answers on home inspections, though. So I'm going to check that off. Keep rolling, and I'm going to come down here to the very bottom, and I'm going to go ahead and type in my brokerage. Okay, my firm's license number is C26344. Phone is phone number, address. These things, well, Winston-Salem, it's going to change for us at some point soon, but not yet. So for right now, I'm going to go ahead and type in our Charlois Boulevard, Suite 100 address. And that is in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, 27103. Put in my agent license number, my phone number. On my video, I joked about the fax number, y'all. I'm not trying to hate, but why are we still using faxes? And I'm going to pop in my email address, and there we go. Okay, those are the things on my listing agreement that don't change, right? For the most part. And I'm going to click Save and Close. Done. We'll let that finish doing its thing, and it is saved. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to my dashboard. We would do everything the same way we always have. We would go into command, add our contact, create our opportunity, start a transaction in the upper right-hand corner. That would create us a Docusign room with the same name as the opportunity in command, right? Does anybody need to see that before I move on? Everybody feel comfortable there? Not changing anything with that, okay? All right, so I'm just going to pop into a room since we did a listing first and show you a neat trick. We only set up the exclusive right to sell listing agreement, if you guys remember. Let me find a listing. That is a test. Okay, so I just created this like I normally would. I'm just going to trash that stuff. All right, so now when I, just like I normally would, go add from Docusign forms, I'm going to pick group. I'm going to pick Keller Williams Realty Elite Listing Forms, my working with real estate agents, my exclusive buyer right to sell listing agreement, residential property disclosure, mineral oil and gas rights. I'll go ahead and pull in a lead-based paint. If you're Keller Williams of Winston, which is the grouping of forms I'm in, you're going to need to pull in your, oh, we don't have one on this one. We do have an upcoming form, but Stephen hasn't told me to start using it yet. It's a disclosure, an agent disclosure. But on the buyer side, we have our form to disclose our affiliated business. But that is okay. These are the forms I'm going to use, and I'm going to click Add. Now, that's going to pop our forms into the room just like so. So on this exclusive right to sell listing agreement, for which I just set up a template, I'm going to hover and right click, and I'm going to apply form template by clicking right there. And here's the one that I just set up. So I'm going to choose it. So you can see you can have more than one. So if you did a certain way when it was new construction, a certain way when it was not new construction, right? You can set up as many as you need. I'm going to click apply. And that just applied that to this exclusive right to sell. You will see that it filled in everything that we just filled in that template. Okay. I did have some details in my Docusign room that came over from command. So it filled my sellers in, it filled the company in from my form, right? You can see everything that we just did will start showing up. There's all my check boxes. And you can see if they said no internet advertising, I could unclick it, but that way it just saves me from having to check it every time. Same with this, right? So super cool. That's done. Now, the cool thing that I want to show you is all we set up was the listing agreement, right? But since this form has a map of my firm name, my firm's license number, my license number, etc. I'm gonna save and close it. Looks good to me. Obviously, you would fill in your listing specific information, but watch what happens when I open up with this working with real estate agents, for which I did not set up a template. I'm gonna let that open. And as I scroll through, looky there, it mapped all that stuff for me already. So I didn't even have to set it up. Put my firm name in, my name, my license number, all that was already done. So you really only need to set up your offer to purchase, your exclusive right to sell listing agreement, your exclusive buyer representation, and maybe if you do like a lot of vacant land, I know some overvies are in here, you might want to set up your vacant land forms as templates. Anything that you're going to use on a regular basis, this way you can set up the templates for that. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Jesus.
That's right, Daryl. You know how long we've been waiting for this.
I know, this is great.
Good, good. I'm super excited about it too. So
I do have a question. I do have a question. So if you went to the details through, if you go into Docusign through command, you set up the details tab over there. If there was something in that details tab, would it override anything that you put in the template, or would the template override it?
I think the template will override the details.
Okay.
I mean, granted, mine was the same, right?
Right.
From both, but I think the template will override the details tab, because this was like a super old one. I had to scroll way back. This is just from like the old way that I would teach. So
Got
I
it.
think the template will override it. All right, good. So there's that one. Conversely, of course, you would go back to your dashboard.
Well,
You could go back to my docs.
can I ask one more question? Sorry.
Please ask as many questions as you need.
So the fact that it updated the other documents, is that because you pulled, it's because you pulled those documents all into that room at the same time?
And then I applied that template to.
I guess my question would be, what if you had instead of the listing agreement, you did one of the other forms? Maybe it was just the working with real estate agents and you filled it out as a template for whatever reason. Would it transfer that information from that one over the other forms? So whatever you pull into that room, then it's going to basically sort of sync them up.
Yeah, if you pull in documents to that room and one of those documents is a template, then any of the mapped fields on that template form that exists on the other forms are going to fill in. Right.
Okay.
So even if I had done my working with real estate agents, which I did do one of those as a buyer. See, so here's my working with real estate agents, 260 buyer. So if I pull my working with real estate agents into a room,
right,
and then pulled in another form that had my data in it, then this form would map onto that other form that was not a template.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. So let's look at the buyer agency. Pretty straightforward, same thing, right? I've already set this one up the exact same way. realestate.docusign.com, my docs, templates, went in and filled in everything that doesn't change. For me personally, those really were the only counties I ever sold in. So, I mean, if I needed to go in and add something else, I could, but this way I never have to type this again. Right? It's just there. You know, how do I get paid? There's my compensation. 60 days again. Check off my buyer acknowledgments of the receipts of their sample documents. I don't take money for home warranty, so I went ahead and put that in there. dual agency. Let's see, there we go. So there's my way I get compensated on dual agency. And there's all my data at the bottom. So same thing. And then I click save and close. So you could also, now granted, if your buyer agency is templated in your room and then you pull in an offer to purchase, you wouldn't need to make a template for an offer to purchase. But if you wanted to, just in the interest of what if you wanted to get this offer signed right now and didn't want to worry about the buyer agency agreement right now, because we all know how this market is, it's crazy. Then you could go ahead and set up your offer as a template. You can set up as many as you want, right? You can go through and set up every form in the NCAR library as a template multiple times for different scenarios if you want to. So we'll let this pull up. Right, and so there's not a lot that I fill out on an offer to purchase for myself as an agent, right? It's mostly the buyer and the seller that are partaking in this. So, I mean, if I always give them a copy, then I could check that off or something. Or, what are other things that might want to be on an offer? I don't know. We don't know the answer to any of this property specific stuff for regular all the time, but I do know my own stuff, right? So I could go ahead and fill in selling firm and get all of my, I really wouldn't know if I was going to act as a buyer agent or a dual agent though, because if you showed them a property listed by our firm, then you wouldn't know the answer to that. But again, if I pulled this in and I had templated out my buyer agency agreement, which already has this data, my buyer agency agreement would have filled it in. Right. So it's up to you as much as you want to fill in. This way, it saves us some typing, which saves us some time. And that's one of the most precious commodities we got, right? So I can fill all this fun stuff in. Like so. There's that fax number again. Do y'all still use faxing? Who still uses fax? Just interested to know. I know that short sales still use them. Little buggers. All right. And then I could save and close that offer. And now I have a template for it for any time that I want to use it. Right? Anybody have any questions? Like I said, I knew this would be fast, and I did set aside an hour so that if there are any questions at all, I am here. I've got it completely blocked off on my calendar, and I have my phone turned off. So I'm here for you guys.
My normal response is I'm going to have to process and holler at you later.
That's right, girl. All right. So now that we created forms, as long as there's no questions, you guys get it. You create the room, you go into the room, just like you always do from command. I do still want, your details are still going to float in from command as far as like who your clients were. I would go ahead and fill in like the property address that you're purchasing, if it's an offer, or the listing address, if it's a listing, in your details tab of your room, right? So I'll go ahead and open this one up. So here's our details tab. So I would, come in just like normal, do our little edit, fill in the address that we were using. And I always tell you guys not to use Google fill, and I just did it anyway, but that's okay because it's fake. Because that's my house and I'm not selling. So it filled me in as a seller, but that's fine. So, fill in everything that you have here, your earnest money amount, who's holding your earnest money, if you know who the attorney is, just like you would normally do your Docusign. And then we will move into our documents. Exclusive buyer agency, apply form template for my exclusive buyer agency, apply. Okay. And now it's filling from my documents and it's filling, or from my details tab, my template, all the things are filling in for me. It knows who my buyer is and my firm is, right? So all that stuff we had filled in is showing up here. And we would just type in the other pertinent information that we need, like the expiration date, all that fun stuff. There's my check marks, compensation, client's name coming from the details tab. And there's all of my templated information. I would save and close and move forward just like normal to get it signed. Good? You guys are quiet. All right. Any questions? Anything else you want to see? Nothing? Okay. Well, thank you guys. I'm
Great.
excited.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much.
I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.